Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And we are here tonight. The VBC is back in the house, but we're also having some technical difficulties over here that we're going to try to get sorted while you guys please bear with us. The VBC. I'm the V in the VBC, the vet Jamie Williams. Hello. With me, as always, my tag team partner Brandon. I don't know if this tag is going to reach him through the magic of the internet, but I'm going to try. There it is. It's coming through. Brandon, were you able to reach the hot tag? Were you able to receive it? Can you clean house?
I will clean house as soon as I clean house on my computer, but I was able to at least hear enough of your voice and know what was going on to feel and go with it. We've been tag team partners long enough. We know the feel, pal.
That's right. We basically share one brain when it comes to this. So, with us as always, again, the C. We have a 4-horse people of C with us so far, and again, hopefully they'll be able to bear with us as we sort through this. Some internet or some delays, some PC issues. We got, who do we have with us here, Brandon? Can you tell us who we got?
We got Chris Winland, we got Liz, we got Javi Uchiha, we got Brad. Of course, I'm sure we'll probably see our 4th horseman rolling in here anytime now. Whoop, whoop.
All right. Well, that looked like 4 to me, but in any case, maybe we'll get a 5th, 6th, 7th, JJ Dillons and others. Maybe it'll turn into the NWO, but so yeah, we're getting things started here, off to a wonderful start. Let's see here. Man, I tell you what, we got a lovely amount of wrestling quote unquote news. Tell you why I say news in quotes, because this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. So, headline number 1, Carlos Silva says TNA Wrestling is in active negotiations with broadcast partner. And then you look into the article and the interview, and he says, we're now in active negotiations with a partner, and we're going to work through that. Silva did not confirm which network the promotion was negotiating with, but was optimistic. I can't really put a timeline on how long that will take. The good news is the process has started. We're no longer just talking to a bunch of people to sort of gauge interest. Now we have an interested partner and working through potentially a deal for 2026. It's going to happen as soon as it can happen. We're working on it as recently as yesterday, exchanging papers and trying to figure it out. Exchanging papers? We're excited about it and keep pushing it forward to get this over the finish line. It's done when it's over the finish line.
So pretty much it's going to happen when it happens, pal.
Yes.
If it happens.
Yes. Do you think he wears his little hat to those meetings when he's, when they're exchanging papers and whatnot?
Ought to be a fly on the wall in there.
All right, so that's the kind of news that we're talking about here. Let's talk about some other news. We have an update on the injury that Ridge Holland has suffered. This is confirmed by Dave Meltzer that he suffered a broken foot in his match against Moose on Saturday in Edmonton. And Holland confirmed on social media that he suffered a Lisfranc injury and would be undergoing surgery on Friday, which would have been this past Friday. Meltzer confirmed the surgery in his update as well and said that Holland will be likely out for 6 months or longer. So there is Ridge Holland. Now we've gone over Ridge Holland's unfortunate history of injuries, whether himself or someone else. Mm, he's only notably hurt one person, but it was kind of a big deal. So, what's going to be next for Ridge Holland after his foot surgery?
He ain't hurting someone else. He's hurting himself.
We got an update on Cedric Alexander's TNA future. His deal is said to be expiring very soon, according to Fightful Select. The contract is ending around Bound for Glory time. What kind of awesome reporting is that? We know his contract is ending. We know it's soon. We know it's around Bound for Glory. Well, you look like you did 75% of the work. Why can't you get that? Why can't anybody ever get that last 5%? That last 20, the most important, actually 25%. I'll say it's 25%. I think it's worth 1/4% of information to know when the actual guy's contract is, what it's for, when it expires, or whatever. They always know how many years the deal is. They say, oh, it's a something year deal. But then when the contract ends, they don't know when that is. You notice that? Isn't that funny? And how they never know how much money it's worth. It's worth. But these are the kind of things that you're getting from this premium reporting. Looking over this, it says that Alexander's not advertised for any matches at Bound for Glory. He could win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. I'm sure that's exactly what TNA is going to do, is let Cedric Alexander win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So, yes. It also says TNA is reportedly expecting Alexander to re-sign with the promotion. So they're expecting that, huh? Okay, interesting. Interesting choice of words. Interesting reporting. I like the word reportedly. Because you're basically saying something, you're basically reporting on something without confirming it. Reportedly. It's almost like saying, maybe. But you put the word report in there and it sounds more official. So, I don't know. I just think that's kind of funny.
Fish report, pal.
Now, the next article is TNA star announces departure from promotion, hopes to return in future. Apparently, Laredo Kid's time in TNA wrestling has come to an end, which he announced on Twitter. Thank you for everything to this great company and family at This Is TNA, Kid wrote. I appreciate your tremendous support. I hope to return to work in the future. We're on a new path. So, according to a report from Fightful Select, it's not clear if Laredo Kid ever had a TNA contract or if he'd simply been on loan from AAA through the TNA AAA partnership that has existed long before WWE was working with either company. And I would go ahead and guess that he probably did not have a contract, because I feel like Fightful Select would say he reportedly had a contract if he did a long time ago. And since they never said that, obviously with their crack reporting staff, they would never have missed that information. So I'm just going to say he probably didn't have a contract with TNA. So it's weird that he needs to confirm that he's not working with TNA anymore if he was never actually under contract, because that means that he could come back anytime. So why are you announcing that you're done if you could come back anytime? I just have these questions.
Right. I specifically remember. Oh, sorry. And I specifically remember Ronan answering a mailbag question where somebody asked him with the partnership between TNA and NXT, will we see AAA appear in TNA? And he easily said yes, emphatically, without hesitation.
Well, Laredo Kid, I think we could
As we
agree, was
saw
never.
with
Oops, here we go. This is part of the problem that we're having here. Yeah, so anyways, that's Laredo Kid. You guys, oh, the chat's all just saying hi to each other. Uh how hmm. How does Brandon sound to you guys? Does he sound as distorted and delayed as he does to me, or is it different for you? Yeah, I just want to ask that really because we don't have I don't think we have any other news to talk about here. Oh, well, maybe. Hold on. Maybe one other thing. Something about Santos Escobar is going to become a free agent early Tuesday morning. But his, let's see. Nope. A bunch of L's and nothing. It just says that he was concerned. This is Pro Wrestling Insider reporting. This is all just uh you know alleged, reportedly concerned about having a plan laid out to him by WWE to show how to be used going forward. Um, so he's more interested in the creative than the money. Apparently, reportedly, he was offered a deal that included a raise. So they were going to give Santos a raise, and supposedly he turned it down. Reportedly, he turned it down.
allegedly.
So yeah, so that's interesting. Um, yeah, Brandon Santos Escobar. Another guy that the WWE just add him to the long list of people they don't really know what to do with. Um, I don't know. But then again, is his presence really missed right now?
I would imagine they saw some sort of value in him if they offer him a bigger money contract.
Well, when you got a
And
guy,
I first thought they. Sorry, we're glitching again. I apologize.
all right, Brandon, can you just go ahead and try to restart your PC, please? Because we can't continue to do this. We gotta have to fix it. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll
All
just
right, I'm gonna
sort
dump
of
out, restart my computer, and be right back. Whoop whoop.
okay. So now, um, where are we at with the news? Yeah, I think that's all the fresh, hot news that's fit to print. Um, sorry, can you guys Is anybody still here? I can't even tell. This is so fucked. All right. So we're still alive. So Chris Winland had a question, but I'm not going to I don't want to answer that question if Brandon's not here to answer. So maybe we can, if he's not able to come back and fix the situation, then maybe we will just save that for next week if that's okay. And if that's not okay, then let me know. Let me know if you need an answer right now. But the question was about wrestling characters. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get through this TNA review for this episode of Impact from October, whatever day it was. And this is one of the reasons here where it's interesting how there's a live NXT every week, right? And TNA is taping sets of tapings every month or 3 weeks at the very least, right? So you got something that a big like title change. Oh, are we back?
Yep, you were, as always, Vet. You were right. Everything's back to normal. It feels, yep, no glitchiness. Everything's as it should be.
All right. Well, best in the world, I guess. What can you say?
Can't argue with that track record.
So I was going to wait for you for the Chris Winland question tonight, so we could go back to that. But before we do, I was just talking about how you know, TNA is taped, NXT, even if it was taped, at least it's taped weekly. And so this is one of those situations here where we have a big moment that happens on this episode of TNA that we already knew about, at the very least, if you don't go for spoilers or anything like that, but you know about it if you watched NXT the previous week. They told you that, you know, the inspiration was going to win the knockout tag. They told you that they had won it before it happened. So I mean, you could have avoided that by just not saying it, because it wasn't going to matter on the episode of NXT that everybody just showed up at, you know, but they did it. So, you know, I was just pointing that out as a way to sort of lead into the episode. But we don't have to lead into the episode just yet. We can answer the question that Chris Winland has, which is, as a fan and performer, can you guys touch on character importance or lack thereof from Doink, Mantar, Mortos, Mr. Iguana, etc.? Who are some memorable ones or not so much for you? And then he adds, Nails and Berserker, LOL. So, interesting question. Now, Brandon, you came in to wrestling a little bit later, so I would think that probably one of the more prominent figures that was on TV that was a total gimmick, because he named a bunch of gimmicks, but he said character. So character could be lots of things. Your character could be having no character. But so like I think, you know, probably the most prominent gimmick that was also featured heavily was Kane, maybe around the time that you started watching, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I guess that was part of what hooked you, right?
I mean, I was aware of the character Kane, but the first time I actually saw him on TV was, I forgot the exact date, but it was February of 2000, where all of a sudden, like, Jack's beating up on The Rock and Cactus Jack, and also the lights go out, and you see Paul Bearer at the stage, and then Kane's music hits, out he comes, and his waist to DX, or beats everybody up.
So yeah, so like I can understand somebody at a point in time, um at that particular point in time seeing Kane, and that's pretty captivating because you see this huge guy with this certain look and all this other stuff, and you're probably interested. You're like, what, I can see this guy every week?
And then I went back and watched his entire character arc from when he debuted up to that point, and it's like, he's actually one of the more complex characters on the show.
Yes. And, you know, in hindsight, a lot of that stuff, let's just say it doesn't work for me, brother. But, you know, at the time, that was a big deal. Uh, and maybe that's part of the reason why they keep on trying to do similar stuff to that. You know, trying to debut these weird dark characters. You know, like there's so many, you know, failed. I don't know if they were all necessarily trying to rip that off, but definitely not quite to the level that, you know, Kane and the Undertaker were going to get pushed, because there's Kane and the Undertaker. They were always going to get pushed. But then they also would try to do these other ones, or maybe even to bring them into, have somebody for those guys to work with, some gimmick for that. I mean, how many gimmicks did the Undertaker have to work with? How many, you know, with the Mordecai, like, you remember that? Like, that was just...
That was part of the shoot promo that he cut in that 98, came out in a sweatshirt and sweatpants. Like, you put all these drags in front of me to slay to keep me away from your chosen champion.
Right. So you gotta comment on it, but you know, the whole idea of it's kind of silly. So I don't know if we're talking about gimmicks. You know, well, the Undertaker's an obvious one for me. I like the idea of it. When I was a kid, I was like 9 years old when the Undertaker debuted or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely different and it's definitely cool. It definitely could have just been a flash in the pan type of thing if they had put that gimmick on the wrong guy, you know? Like if, you know, if they had given Damien Demento to Mark Calloway and given the Undertaker to that guy, I mean, I think we might be talking about Damien Demento 6 feet under and like all these things today. I don't think we necessarily, you know what I mean? Like it was for it really depends on the person how much they could get it over. But even people can't even. There's some things nobody could get over. That was just like a once in a lifetime thing, I think.
Yeah, the Undertaker character and having the right person to play that character was like lightning in a bottle. Like that's not gonna happen again.
No, it's not. And it almost didn't happen because, you know, it was just an idea, but after that, like, if he wasn't such a reliable everyday performer, then it would, if you go back and actually look at the booking from, you know, 92-ish on, it, you know, you could have made the argument that they were trying to end his career, because you're talking about him just having matches with guys like Kamala and Giant Gonzalez and like these other, like, not I don't mean it in the sense of like these guys are gonna kill him. I just mean like nobody cares. Like these aren't premium, you know, angles here that we're running with this. Just remember that like, what was it, like Survivor Series 92 lead up? He's like building a coffin for Kamala or something like that. Like he's in some kind of a barn somewhere making a custom coffin or some shit. Just like, you know, that's where wrestling was at. And it was so childish and corny, and business was down then. You know, like that wasn't when the business was hot. So as entertaining as it is to look back nostalgic, you know, rose colored glasses and remember our childhoods and stuff like that. If you think about us as more bitter adults these days, like if that shit is going on now, everybody would be roasting it. Nobody would be like, they'd be like, what is going on here? And when they try to do modern day recreations or whatever with, you know, the Wyatt family or other things, they just don't, people like it, but it doesn't, the company doesn't even want to get really behind it. They want to feature it kind of, but they don't want to commit 100%. You know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how Vince McMahon doesn't want to get behind Bray Wyatt, but it was, you know, but he still did kind of, but not full. I don't know. It's just
can't be half pregnant. Pretty easy to go half pregnant.
Yeah, I don't know. But that was kind of rambling. I guess that was just a long way to say like I did like the Undertaker's gimmick as a child. I know that's one. When I was really getting into wrestling, gimmicks were about like it seemed like everyone was like an animal, you know, or had an animal, like Jake the Snake or, you know, Coco Beware with Frankie or, you know, those type of things. British Bulldogs with Matilda.
Give me Matilda, pal.
Yeah. Like it was like WWE was kind of like a zoo. So you watch that kind of stuff and it's kind of, you know, the mascot characters are appealing there, but is that really a character? I don't know. Like how would you describe the British Bulldogs characters? These two jack guys that had a bulldog. Like that's not a character really, but you didn't need it. They were performers, you know? That's just, it's like athletes. They competed for the tag team championships and they won sometimes. You know, same thing with the Hart Foundation, same thing with the Killer Bees, another animal team, or the Rougeau brothers. Like none of these were gimmicks per se. They were just monikers, nicknames, you know, a theme, if you will, right? The Killer Bees with striped tights, you know, just, but there was nothing about them that was bee-like. It was just another two guys that were in shape that were a tag team. So, you know, that is that a character? I don't know. What are some other characters that, you know, you gravitated towards over the years?
Trying to think. Which in itself should tell you something. If I have to think about it.
You know, another one from another one from around the time when you were getting into it that was really getting big was Mick Foley, because he had several characters that he had got into, like Cactus Jack and, you know, his previous, you know, employment with WCW and World Class and the other places that he worked. And then coming into WWF and they're like, screw all that. It's Mankind now. So he's got this completely other character, which is kind of similar to Cactus Jack in some ways, the way he did things, but maybe differently in the way he approached it, the presentation of it.
It's like if Cactus Jack and Marilyn Manson combined to create a character, that's Mankind. Not Marilyn Manson, Charlie Manson.
Yeah, Charles Manson. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then you have then he eventually brought out Dude Love, you know, and then there was, so now you had one guy, three gimmicks, you know, triple the merch sales.
And he made it work. He turned it into a three-way personality that made sense and worked. And that's all because of how good of a performer Mick Foley is.
Right. Again, no one else is going to be able to do that because he was a guy that took all that stuff seriously. Like, you know, some of the stuff he did was comedic, but there's a difference between taking your job seriously, right, and taking yourself seriously. So I guess, um, that's another example of like a good character where you also unfortunately saw that when Mick would come back later, like after his retirements many times, and he would come back as like general managers or whatever. And then, so like, as time would go on, when he would try to do one of those like really longer, thoughtful promos, you could see that the crowd just really wasn't with it a lot of the time because they were all catchphrased up like that. The Steve Austin and The Rock and people with sound bites and catchphrases and shit like that. Stuff that he's even commented on in promos or whatever. But it was like whenever Mick had to come back and do that heartfelt promo, you knew that like the people there, they were just kind of like not 100% because they've been retrained in a way. So we kind of have lost the art of the promo or that kind of promo anyway. People aren't willing to listen as long to get the whole message because he's trying to tell a whole story in the promo, and people don't have the patience to sit through a story in a wrestling promo, I guess.
I think part of that too was that's kind of what they've been trained on since the Attitude Era. So it's like, okay, we've seen this. What's different? Like, goes back to the adage of what's old is new. And what new had become old at that point.
Right. Now, so I don't know, the importance of character. I mean, you need to be able to have, I guess, I think that it's a debate that kind of, it's always ongoing, because it means different things to different people, and you could always point to some example of, you can point to some example of anything. There's some example that somebody can point to that it got over, no matter what kind of thing it was. Like when you say when some guy comes on TV and he's out of shape or whatever, and people say this guy's fat, he's fat. You say all this, they say these things, right? And then, but you can always think of fat guys that got over. You can always think of small guys that got over. You can always think of guys that couldn't cut a promo or didn't cut promos that got over. Some of those were some people were all of those, like Abdullah the Butcher. He was short, fat, and didn't do promos. He got over. So like you can always get over somehow.
Dude, and Abdullah the Butcher is the perfect example. He figured out how to get over. It was a silent assassin. He mauled people and just stabbed them.
Right. Now, granted, you got to get people to go along with that vision. I would love to be the guy that, the first guy that he presented that to, like, yeah, man, I'm going to stab you with a fork. Like, the hell you are. I'm stabbing with no fork. Well, I'll work it, champ. I'll work it. I'm working it.
Just trust me to go out there.
I'll stab myself with a fork. How about that? Yeah, just yeah. So like, but the point is, whatever people complain about, or whenever somebody is criticized for something in wrestling today, just remember, and that goes to me too. Anytime I'm saying it, I usually try to just criticize the individual or whatever for not for blanket reasons like that, but I know I'm guilty of it too. Just, somebody out there has gotten over doing that. But maybe it just worked for them. But there's many different ways to have character in wrestling, including no character. Like, Bob Backlund or whatever was a champ for a long time. And I guess you could say he didn't have a character, but people would accuse him of that. They say he's boring. They say he didn't have a character. But at the same time, I mean, what's more of a character than being a legitimate athlete in the sport that you're in? Wouldn't that just be Bret Hart's character?
Yeah, pretty much. He was like the late 70s, early 80s Bret Hart.
Yeah, and then those guys, met in the 90s for the fucking WWF title.
Bret dropped the belt to him.
Right. So that's funny. That's kind of funny, but and Bob Backlund definitely had a character then.
Yeah, he was like batshit insane dude, like who was like, tell me all the name of every president in order, and then I'll give you an autograph.
Right. So, yeah. So I don't know. I guess there's really no end of the answer to the question that Chris Winland asked. There's always going to be importance of character in wrestling, but it, what you define as character in wrestling is really, I think that's where I think the degrees of that on the spectrum of what you call character, which is just one word to describe many things, I think that's where there's always going to be the debate and where the fans are always going to gravitate towards different things, and that's why they argue about it.
Yeah, that is one thing of what the definition of what a character is. That's kind of more up to the individual.
With that being said, let's talk about the characters in TNA wrestling. And thank you again, Chris, for your question. We are we're heading into the invasion. Oops, excuse me. I mean showdown.
We have a partnership.
That as of this recording is happening tomorrow night. So, I know we're all very excited to see this showdown.
And we'll be doing a watch along as soon as the A show is over. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. But for this episode, we're gonna start everything out with a hot ketchup packet, fresh out of the microwave. Don't put it in too long. Yeah, ketchup packet, letting you know everything. Then we get a thing from earlier today where Santino is telling Mike Santana no physicality tonight, but he's making it sound one-sided. And he's like, what if he attacks me? And he's like, talking about Tricky Williams. And he said, what if he attacks me? He said, well, you could defend yourself, but so we're doing this whole Mike Santana's a dangerous man type, the powers that be, the forces above, or they're giving Santino orders.
Yeah, setting up the whole obvious spot of, well, Santana can't initiate violence, but if Williams, touches or initiates violence with him, well, then he has freedom to do whatever he wants to defend himself.
Right. Which leads us to, of course, our first in-ring promo of Frankie Kazarian. He comes out and starts saying, he demands congratulations from everybody, that they give him a standing ovation. I thought when he said standing ovation, perhaps, that'd be as good as saying someone's name and them appearing, but yeah, didn't get that. Instead, we got Kalani Jordan, of course.
Speaking of him, did you hear the latest thing that just came out? It was announced on social media.
What's that?
Joe Hendry will be the guest referee of the men's Survivor Series match tomorrow night on NXT Showdown.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you go. That sounds like exactly what you would be doing with your future star, right? Like, because we all know that Joe Hendry's got one foot out the door, and they've even commented on that as much on television. And, what better way to say megastar than special guest referee and fucking CW show?
Just ask Bret Hart when he came to WCW.
Yep, that went great. So, Kalani Jordan. Here's Kalani Jordan. And you've seen Kalani Jordan with a microphone now, if you hadn't before.
Oof. Man, get AI Dusty Rose to work with her.
Yeah, we got to do something. But here's the other thing about this. Now, she started as a fresh young baby face, got pushed to the moon, fell off the moon, and nobody cared, and they could tell they were being force-fed. So they did what they always do in this situation when they don't know how to make a baby face, which is they turn them heel. So you imagine Kalani Jordan as a heel, right? Imagine that. Imagine just absolute, dastardliness of her. You could almost see her twirling her mustache. Oh my goodness. But so she's doing that, and then inexplicably and for no reason, they just sort of gradually don't have her be a heel, or they put her in positions where she's not a heel. I don't know what better way to sort of cement her as a heel than to have her be in this position where she fucking wins the TNA Knockouts Championship, because it's a heelish thing to do, to just show up and win a company's belt. It's like, mind your own business is what it's like. So when Trick Williams does it, he's making the most out of that by saying, yeah, I'm the champion. I'm not even going to be here if I don't feel like it, blah, 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 and getting heat, at least trying. I don't know if anybody really cares, but he's trying, right? So you would think that Kalani Jordan, they would, if they had this plan in mind, they could have went with that or prepared for this a little bit more rather than just ignore the heel turn and have her just be a babyface again.
Yeah, what the real life situations with Ash and Masha served up a silver platter where if you wanted to put Kalani in that position, you could have turned her heel, be like, yeah, I saw that opportunity, took it, and I stabbed backs on the way there. What do you do about it?
Yeah. But no. But yes, because she's still in this position here where she's with Frankie Kazarian, like not 100% agreeing with him, but still ending up in this because what am I talking about? Trick Williams comes out and he says, if you're the king to Frankie, I'm the emperor. And then Matt Hardy comes out, and then Leon Slater comes out, and then Indy Hartwell comes out, and then Santino makes a match. So now Kalani Jordan is over here, and instead of being on the babyface team, she's just has to be with the heels just because, even though she hasn't done anything heelish. So she's just associated with these people. Right?
This entire segment and match felt like a Band-Aid on the wound of, okay, we want to have Jeff Hardy on the show, but we can't because of, you can't get into Canada.
Right. Well, that doesn't necessarily, I don't know. Did it work? Because, by the way, Mike Santana goes to commentary, and we've got our mixed 6-person to start off the show. Was it a great start to the show? Do you think this made up for Jeff Hardy not being there?
No, there's way better ways they could kick off. Like, I don't know. How about do something to build for your main event for Bound for Glory? Something with Santana and Trick Williams? How about something like that?
Yeah, I mean, weren't we at the beginning of the show? Weren't we treated to a parking lot discussion about how he's not allowed to get physical out there? So how did he know what he was going to get physical for? Because Trick Williams seemed like he just came out on his own, because all these people seem like they randomly just came out interrupting each other, yet here we have a match. So why would Santino, if you're thinking of logically and laying this out, why would Santino have thought there would be any reason for Trick Williams and him to even have an interaction tonight?
Also, too, that we have 2 weeks of impacts to tape, plant the seed tonight, and then pay it off next week leading into the go home show.
There's so many ways to do it. This way they did it was that they have Leon Slater hit the Swan 450 on Frankie Kazarian. So you have a TNA guy beat a TNA guy. Yeah. And then Tommy Dreamer, of all people, Tommy Dreamer comes out and everybody's like, we got this rally the troops thing on the top of the stage where all these people at TNA are just standing there, and Tommy Dreamer's trying to do this rallying speech saying like, you are NXT, but we are family. Well, do you have all your sisters with you? I mean, come on. So this was comical to me, but I don't know. Olive Garden, maybe? When you're TNA, your family?
Yeah, is Tommy Dreamer really the guy you want out there, like being the guy to rally the troops?
Well, I don't know if he's the guy we wanted, but he's the guy we got.
Like, I could see him being the guy who speech before he introduces the guy to rally the troops. Okay, that's like he'd work there.
But you never know. Tommy Dreamer could just I would say, well, does he wear wrestling boots? He does, right? I don't know. I was gonna say lace up the boots, but I'm not sure. He just looks like he just shows up. But yeah, I think he's got boots. Anyway,
Always bring your gear, pal.
it's always he's got his boots in the car, in the trunk. Gimmick injury report.
Oh my fuck.
So Gia Miller has a bruising because she got jumped by Tessa in the parking lot after Victory Road. She's cleared, so I guess Tessa didn't do that good of a job. But I didn't see this. I don't remember seeing this.
I do not either. This was actually the first time I saw. Like, wait, this happened?
Yeah, is this a social media angle they ran?
I gotta believe so. Like, yeah, this does not appear on any Impact or any paper or on Victory Road.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. I was worried that I was just, half-assing it, not being the best in the world, not being up on my stuff, just must have completely missed or skipped. There's been weird things sometimes when you look at the bootleg feeds of stuff, and sometimes they leave stuff out. Like, for instance, as I was talking about on Dad Wreckage, when I tried to watch Collision, they left like a whole 20 minutes out of it because someone split it in the middle and forgot to include parts of the show, so I had to actually go back on HBO Max and watch it. But the only reason I would have known to do that is because they did not even show the finish of the match that they were having before the first time cut. So I was like, who won the match? Anyways, things like that are weird and can happen. And I thought this was one of those, but apparently they've never shown this before. Is this? Yeah, maybe it was a social media angle.
Yeah,
but
that's
she is clear.
Yeah, that's one thing they've been doing is like they'll do social media exclusives, then they'll like one or two on Impact. So they're like, hey, come check to try to draw viewers for the social media accounts.
So Ash is out with an undisclosed injury. No shit.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. If we saw Victory Road, obviously she is going through something. It's personal. She doesn't want to discuss it. Respect her privacy, and that's how they're doing that.
Yes, but they're bringing it up in the gimmick injury report.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, worst place to put it. Yet no reason to even mention it. We saw Victory Road. Just play a clip from Victory Road. That's all you need to do.
Right. And everything that they're doing on the show has to be around that now because she's gone. So having her as part of this is it's borderline insulting, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of shit on the it's just on the real life thing that she's kind of going through.
Right. Unless this whole thing's a work. So
it is wrestling business. Who knows, pal?
Right. Yeah, but it seems weird. If it is a work, you just wasted everything that she's done since she's got here. But then again, there's no other. If you did what I said and said you should have left with some heat, then nobody would have believed the angle anyway. So maybe they're trying to do a Seth Rollins, whatever. Anyways, the Inspiration and the Elegance brand, what's left of them, have no injuries, and they are cleared with no injuries. Thank goodness. So, hey, maybe look on the bright side. Maybe the reason that they did this is because there just really aren't enough injuries. So they had to put something on the injury report. Bioflex is paying for it. We got to give them something. So maybe we're just saying, we'll give them a checkup just to be sure that they're not injured. And then we'll include that, right?
Well, here's the thing, though. They have a shoot injury of somebody on their roster, Elias, who's got, a torn tricep, Update on that. To say he's got about like this long to next evaluation.
Yep. Nah, let's not do that. So we get a vignette from Mara Sade, and she's talking about how getting released from NXT was actually the best thing that ever happened to her. That can't be the best thing. But
yeah, I think that her showing up on NXT with a shirt that said "Miss Me" ... was a cry, was a psychological thing or anything.
No. But hey, whatever you gotta do to try to get over it. We get the NXT catch-up packet to let you know what's been going on over there. And then we get the Angel Warriors versus Kat Von Hees. I'll just let that sink in for a second. And Ava Lawless. I wonder what this is supposed to be. Kat Von Hees.
Obviously, yeah. Replace one letter. We know what that's going for.
She might as well have done it. Why not Kat Von Hees?
Okay. Yeah, come out to the ring with you got a tattoo needle and you carry a bag in your hand.
Yeah, man. So this obviously is supposed to be a get over match. The problem is, I don't think anybody in this match knows how to get over in a get over match. Like they went for a hot tag after like 1 minute of heat. Like the heels barely got anything, and the heels shouldn't have got anything because this is a get over match. So if there's ever a point where you could just have the baby faces just run some quick tag team spots and do that, everything they did was terrible. It sucked. You could tell that these women don't know anything about tag team wrestling at all. Whatever happened to the British kids? Where are they at? They know more about tag team wrestling than
Myla Grace, Harley Hudson.
Yeah, where they at?
And they did. I thought the black and white thing they did with them was great. Like they were it was like a behind the music type of interview thing, and they had the interruption with the concierge. Like right. I actually cared about them in that moment. It's like, well, telling their real life stories here.
Yep. Probably visa issues, pal. So, yeah. So anyways, but I'm just saying, like, you can't just be a tag team. There's things you have to learn. And if you haven't learned those things yet, you probably shouldn't do this. So I don't know who's teaching them how to be a tag team. I'd like to know, because I need to have a talk with them also. But in any case, they do go over with their move, the Heaven Sent. And yeah, there you go. Angel Warriors, up and coming. Look out. Any other thoughts on the debut of the Angel Warriors in the ring?
Oof, they need some work.
All right.
But that
Santino interrupts.
That can easily be solved. Just get in the ring, do reps, work together. Easy fix.
You know, tag team wrestling seems so difficult. And I guess either I just had a great aptitude, or it just so happens that, you know, I was working with the best trainer ever. But it's not like Rip was known as a tag team specialist. He was mostly known as a gimmick. So the way he broke down tag team wrestling was so easy for me to understand. And maybe I just have to remember that not everybody got that. But at the same time, there are some things I think that would just have to be foundational. Uh, and maybe they're not getting those foundational things. And that's why some of the stuff is so difficult. And that's why I'm so hard on them, because I'm taking it for granted that they should know some of these things. And they probably never had anybody teach them. So, I do take that into consideration when I say what I'm saying. I'm not blaming them. That's why I said whoever is teaching them or whoever agented this, they're the ones that need a talking to, because they probably never had a foundational tag team, you know, education. So, but yeah, like to me, like personally, to me, when I hear people talking, and I'm talking about like legendary wrestlers, some of these people, when I hear some of these people talking about like the the differences between tag team wrestling and singles wrestling, like there's really a difference. I'm just like, are you fucking marks? Do you guys not do you guys really think there's some kind of a difference? There is a difference, but not in the way you would approach it. Like you should be able to do either one. Everybody should be able to do either one. Just because you are a tag team, like as a gimmick, like as a character, whatever. If you are put together as a tag team, don't think that what you're doing is supposed to be so crazily different from what anybody else is doing. It's basically it's a stipulation. It's not, doesn't have to be an identity unless you're just so good at it and you have a company that actually features tag team wrestling prominently. But like as far as just having the matches and how the matches are supposed to go, and just the basics of things, everybody that ever laced up a pair of boots should be able to do these things interchangeably on any given night. You should be able to have a singles match, a tag team match, a 6-man, a 8-man, a 10-man, a 12-man. They're all the same if you know what you're doing, like the way you go about it. So it's weird that people make the distinction so hard sometimes.
Here you lay that out. Here's one thing I will never ever forget. During like the back end when I was still working, I was traveling with some friends, and went to Colorado mainly because this was what 2016, 17ish, and we wanted to get it for their legal weed. So we're trying to find bookings out there to have an excuse to go out there. And I'll never forget during the thing we were thrown into. I'm sorry. I was personally thrown into a six-way match. I have no idea how it happened, but somehow I ended up as the veteran in the match, and I was calling everything throughout the match. It just felt natural, and I just kind of, after years of experience of just working, it just felt natural to slip into that role.
So it was a six-way match, like 6 individuals versus each other, like a 6-pack challenge, or a 6-man tag.
6-pack.
Huh.
No, seriously, in a weird way, I was communicating like, okay, like I was working with this guy. Okay, you go to him, go do this, and then go from there. And it was weird. Somehow it worked.
That's amazing. But yes,
I'll never. One thing I'll never forget was when after the match, like somebody, the booker, promoter, or I forgot who it was. Somebody came to me and said, like, dude, you were the glue that held that match together.
should be that simple. But I'm sure these girls had time to prepare their match and everything, and it still ended up like this. So, yeah. Now, Joe Hendry is doing a promo backstage, but Santino interrupts Joe to tell him that he has to have a no DQ match with Eric Young next week. And again, he makes it sound like someone is telling him to do these things, to make these matches, or to deliver this news. The higher power, if you will.
I have a theory. I have this theory. I mean, we've been seeing Carlos Silva a lot on TV. I got a theory. He's going to end up being like a Todd Gordon mold for NXT.
Interesting. Let's see how that goes. So we get what's called a, I guess that thing that Santana did last week was called Road to Glory, and now we're getting a part 2 of Road to Glory with Mike Santana, where, and again, this is some film school dropouts idea of good, production and television. But you get this weird sort of thing where he's sitting in a chair with Amazing Red pacing around him, basically like cutting a promo to him, or some sort of narrative structure to this thing where he's talking about his history and how he's got to forget, you know, how far he's come, and he can't let anybody down, like the last time when he and Homicide were in the front row to see him win, and they weren't, and I didn't remember them being there, but I'll take his word for it. But this whole thing, and it's got like this, but I don't know what you call this, like horror movie aesthetic where they have like like the stuttering, the shuddering, what do you call that thing where the camera like it like shakes, like it's trying to like simulate like mental instability, I guess.
Yeah, I would guess, or maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not all that up to date on like comes to like a production cues and why they shoot stuff the way they do, but I would think so. But like this didn't fit that.
No. Yeah, it's definitely, this is the kind of stuff they do for Bray Wyatt and Wyatt stuff. It's Blair Witch, baby. No, it's not Blair Witch. Blair Witch was handheld camera. I'm talking about it's an After Effect. I don't know. I just don't know the technical name of it. I wouldn't even know how to look up what it is, but it's some weird thing they do. But anyways, whatever this was, like you said, didn't really fit. Speaking of doesn't fit, Dolph Ziggler versus Hometown Man.
He's a hometown man, pal.
He's a hometown man.
I'm sure AJ Styles would love his theme song.
Sure he would. Yeah, this like this is one of those things where I'm like, why do I have to watch? Why am I watching this? Why do I have to watch this? And you're not even getting anything out of it unless this is just how you're done with Hometown Man. Like, are you actually going to release what's his name? Like, is that just the end of him now? Like, we're really done with Cody Deaner now? Or because what happens here is they beat him, then they kick his ass, and then Matt Cardona comes out to help, and they kick his ass, and that's it. That's the end of the segment. Ziggler's over strong.
Yeah, where do you go from here?
I mean, if Matt Cardona can't even make a save, we've already seen the tag team match. So this is Dolph Ziggler getting his win back, even though I don't think he's the one that lost. It was his brother again, but not that I care about Hometown Man. I actually enjoy it. The only thing that sucks about it is that it's the Zigglers that I have to watch doing it rather than somebody I care about. But whoever wipes this guy off the face of TNA TV, I'm fine with that. But when you do something like this, it's a statement. It's like saying, fuck you, you're fired. That's the kind of shit this is. Like, you get nothing. The Willy Wonka, good day, sir.
You lose.
Yeah, you lose. There is no coming back for Hometown Man after this.
Yeah, and what sucks is Hometown Man actually has a lot of value as a house show character.
Right. But maybe that's what they're going to do. Character. Maybe that's what they're going to do is he's only going to be a house show character. If they run house shows, which I don't know. I don't know.
Like he could be like a babyface Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah. I'm not trying to take food out of Cody Deaner's mouth. It looks like he does that himself based on his physique. I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that I wouldn't have done this unless I was trying to get to write him off. So, and also Matt Cardona, like the guy that comes in to make the save gets beat down when the odds are even. Okay. Well, whatever you want to do. So Gia Miller gets a promo now, and I think Brandon, you can go ahead and congratulate yourself because you called this a long time ago. That apparently when Tessa Blanchard was reinstated to TNA, that came with a condition, and the condition being, if anything happens to Gia, that they will have a match at Bound for Glory. Isn't that an interesting stipulation to put in somebody's conditional return to the company that you has suspended them for violence? It's like, all right, well, you could come back, but if you do anything, you're going to have a match at the biggest pay-per-view of a year against this announcer. And don't you think that she would have had to know that beforehand? Which means that if she took her out in the parking lot, that must have meant that she already knew that if she did this, that if Gia could recover in time, she would have to wrestle her at Bound for Glory, which means one of two things. Either Tessa wanted to wrestle her at Bound for Glory. I'm talking about the character now as a kayfabe. Like, I want a match with Gia. Or you're just so weak that you couldn't take her out when you jumped her so that she'll be available to Bound for Glory and it won't be like in a hospital bed somewhere with, in traction, eating applesauce. How does this make sense?
Well, one piece of evidence I found pretty interesting is recently I've had a second backstage interviewer kind of helping lift a little. They're grooming her to take Gia's because they plan on making her a full-time member of the roster. And the whole thing with her and Tessa seems to be the perfect way to transition Gia from a backstage announcer to a wrestler.
Wow. Or the perfect way to write her out of the company when Tessa has her carried out of the building at Bound for Glory because she probably needs to,
go with her husband Ace in AEW.
Right. Which they definitely need more female announcers there. They only have like 3 or 4. So they need another one.
And also having one that can work is definitely a bonus.
Sure. Tasha versus Lisha with full backup from both of their respective teams. I don't know about this. I mean, Tasha Steelz, as we know, is clearly the mastermind of Order 4, and she's also been the Knockouts champion, so she knows her way around a ring. But Alicia Edwards, after they made a point to say she hasn't had a singles match since fucking last year or sometime, goes ahead and beats her. Granted, she did hit her with Kendra, and she did use the pedigree, but still, I feel as though Tasha Steelz probably could have, I'm thinking in the canon of this universe, I think she's at a higher tier than probably Alicia Edwards. But that's neither here nor there. I'll let you say, what you want, but there's more to this.
And honestly, that would have been better business. That would have put more heat on Order 4 and Tasha as well. Most importantly.
Yeah. But here's the thing that I have a problem with, besides all that stuff I just said. But to make it worse, Tasha uses the deadly heat back maneuver where right after the match she jumps Lisha Edwards for, from behind. But here's the thing. And I just talked about this on an AEW match. You didn't get rolled up. Like, she didn't get a quick one on you with a schoolboy or a small package or something. You fucking caned her and hit her with the pedigree. And then Tasha just gets up and nails her from behind like nothing happened. So don't sell it, Austin Aries, I guess. Fuck. What's the point? And then they didn't even get into a real schmoz because they just pulled Tasha. The Order 4 just pulled Tasha out and didn't get in the ring.
Easy fix for that. You have the rest of like Order 4 or the Secret Service beat down Lisha while Tasha recovers. She pulls some sort of a weapon, about to blast Tasha with it, and then here comes the system for the save. Have the schmaz.
Yeah. Or, Tasha win. And like you said, get some heat, and then you just have them they have them run away when she tries to get a little bit extra after. I mean, if you're gonna do that, but it could be something like she puts her in she's forced to tap out in a submission, or if you want to do something where like maybe you could get some more heat for Agent Zero. Maybe he could punch Lish in the face when nobody's looking, headbutt her, then Tasha slaps on a submission and she's already out, so the referee stops it, and then she doesn't let go, and then the system runs in, and then Tasha bails, and then the Order 4 just leaves, with their heat.
That brings me to a question. Where was Agent Zero on the show? He would have played great into the finish of the match.
Well, he was just standing there with everybody else doing nothing. I'm sure he adjusted his tie off screen several times. I didn't happen to catch it if he did it on screen, but I'm sure he did at some point. Yeah. Yeah, so like this is what I'm talking about. Like what is everybody over there getting paid to do when they can't even do this much? They can't even figure out this basic thing. Who put this shit together? Who put the Angel Warriors match together? Who put everything together on this fucking show? Like, what are you guys doing? This is a taped show. But the parts, the parts that we're talking about were not. That's not an editing issue. It's a this happened in the frame. Like this happened on the live audience. Like you had these booking decisions that you made, and why did you make them? For what?
And from a personal level, and from the same school of training, Delirious should know better.
I'm not sure if he does, because all the people ever did in Ring of Honor was just have matches. What was the angles in Ring of Honor? I don't remember any.
Well, I didn't go through the Ring of Honor portion. I went through like the same beginner portion that Delirious did, but yeah, anything beyond that, I can't comment on.
Yeah, maybe it's just been corrupted by this point. Like out of practice. I don't know. Or maybe they're giving him the old, let's just get through this week. I don't know. Let's just get through these 3 weeks.
Yeah, to be fair, some of the things that he might have pressed upon him are kind of out of his control, and you're trying to maneuver around it.
But yeah, it's unacceptable, really. If to the fans, I don't think they care, because it all comes out in the wash, I guess, when the fans are watching it, because everybody that's just watching TNA has got to be so brain dead at this point. But sorry, guys. But
to be fair, when it comes to the Knockouts title situation, Ash and Masha kind of put the company in a bad situation where they had to pivot quickly in
that ain't this. That's not Order 4 in system though. So I don't really care what bad position they were put in for that, because these guys already had an angle. So now you're trying to get us excited about your hardcore war thing with
And then
what?
and then to make things even more confusing, you have Mustafa Ali show up on NXT, and he looks like a complete babyface.
Right. Right. So nobody's even the partnership is not so much of a partnership. It's more like roommates that don't talk.
That's kind of what it's turned into because, well, like at least with what Mustafa Ali was talking about the promo on NXT, it was logical and made sense, but it didn't fit the character that's been established so far. Like that's where the disconnect is.
Yes. Well, anyway, uh enough free corrections for you guys. Um Tessa Blanchard tells a story about Gia with music underneath. And I actually learned here a little something that, according to Tessa Blanchard, Gia was going to George South's wrestling school and she couldn't cut it there. So she went to Mike Jackson's wrestling school. And I like the way that Tessa was like, Mike Jackson is just a glorified jobber or whatever she said, which is like, well, what was George South? But anyways, uh, good heel heat. But you know, there you go.
Again, Tessa is one who gets it. Like this felt like a heel promo that was like trying to put themselves over while putting the babyface over in a weird way. It just, I mean, not everything kind of clicked, but it felt like the effort was there.
Yep. Also, she got her carefully selected black friend, Victoria, so it's always good. So get a little extra. Um, so you know, uh, looks like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event: the Inspiration versus the Elephants brand. Um, again, we already knew. Thank you, thanks NXT, thanks Rumi, for spoiling this for us. The people that don't read up on the internet and don't read the results of stuff. That we were gonna have a big title change on this show. But yes, we definitely had a big title change on this show. As far as the match is concerned, I actually thought, um, and again, this is just me. Like, I'm watching TNA because I kind of have to, and the way I watch things is not necessarily with, I count on the show to draw me in. It's like I will put the show on and I will listen to it. I'll make my notes, and you have to draw me in and make me pay attention. That's your job. So even though I didn't care about this match and also already knew it happened, right? So, but I could still get the sense from the match that they were actually building to the hot tag like pretty good. And that was the opposite of the tag team match we saw earlier with the ladies where they got a hot tag after like 0 minutes of heat. You don't work a hot tag in a match that short. You don't need to. But these women actually were building to it, building to it, building to it. And then when they tagged, it was pretty much ice cold at that point. But they almost got it.
To be fair, that match went way too long for TV. In my opinion, I think that's more looking and writing this than allocating too much time to the main event. That should have been like a 10-15 minutes at most.
Well, I mean, that whole mess with everybody coming out at the beginning with all those people saying all that stuff and having all their entrance music and then having a 6-man and everything after that took up about 38 minutes of the show.
Yeah, this entire show felt like lazy writing. Let's just do whatever we can to keep on.
But the length of the match wasn't the issue. The issue was the fact that you built to the hot tag and the hot tag got cold before you got to it. You were doing everything right, except the one thing you had to get right. I would venture to say the actual tag itself is more important, but It was cold as fuck. So, again, a word with the agents, please. But they almost got it, and I was proud. I was almost proud of them because I was like, "Yeah, all right, ladies, go for it. You did it." And then, oh, that sucked. Crowd was just like, I guess so. But anyway, they made up for it with a nice finish. The tag was ice cold. Like I said, the hot tag was ice cold, just like the champagne that Cassie ducked before they hit the idolizer on Heather, and we have new Knockouts Tag Team Champions.
Which reminds me, why did you wait some good cold champagne on that? Wait, it's titles. Bad. You always get more with the winner's purse. Whoop whoop.
You know what's right? Exactly. Well, the Elegance brand won't then because, but I did. I don't know if you caught this because during the watch along you might have been partying up, but like when Heather took the champagne as she's sliding in the ring to get ready to throw it in Cassie's face, she took like a drink of it on the way under the ropes.
I did catch that.
Which
was a little drinky pool, bud.
Which I have given Heather no, like the gloves have been off with Heather since day one. And I've been very harsh on that poor young lady. But that, whoever's idea that was, that's the kind of stuff that makes me go, man, I love wrestling.
I gotta believe that was her knowing, okay, I got to swig before I dump this. that was her on the fly calling that. I gotta believe that.
I hope so. But probably not. It was probably the concierge. Probably told her
when you mentioned that reminds me of the spot. Remember when DX had their strip poker, and then they had the in the ring they had the altercation with the headbangers, and then Shawn Michaels pours Jack Daniels on one of the bangers, and he opens his mouth and starts chugging it.
I do not remember that, but I'll take your word for it. This was more awesome than that, though, I'll say, because there was no focus on it. It was just like they didn't. I don't think they really called attention to it. If the announcers did, I don't know because I don't listen to them anyway. But yeah. That was just like a thing for her and the crowd there probably, but it was funny. Anyways, that's the end of TNA. I wouldn't thought that the most praise I would have on the show would be for Heather by Elegance, but here we are.
Yeah, with Bound for Glory coming up, that my biggest complaint about this week's episode of Impact was like, there was not a sense of urgency to build Bound for Glory. It seemed more like a commercial for Showdown.
Which I understand that too, but especially because that, look, again, we're doing this joke, half-assed, counter-programming bullshit because Dynamite's also on Tuesday, right? So we got to have our big, I'm sure it's a complete coincidence that our big cross-promotional battle just so happens to be when Dynamite's on Tuesday. Yeah, sure. So, anyways, they are going to try to promote that. But the thing is, no one's going to watch TNA for that. So it doesn't matter what TNA did to promote it or a commercial for it. The only thing of significance that happened on this show anyway was that something that we already knew last Tuesday, that the Inspiration won the titles. So anyways, everybody's fucking up. Nobody is above reproach. And we are about out of time. So Brandon, tell the people where they can find you.
They can find me usually on Twitter, or as the kids call it, Dave the X, Brandon Wu. I'm also on Twitch multiple times throughout the week, guaranteed every Wednesday night after the HMG AEW Dynamite watch along and bell count at twitch.tv/LG Brandon whoop whoop. I don't see what we got going on for Hami Media Group watch alongs this week. Tomorrow night, we got, of course, the aforementioned NXT Showdown watch along. But of course, they'll have to take place after the A show. As soon as that goes off the air, we'll be going live with that. Wednesday, we got the the AEW Dynamite watch along and bell count. Thursday, we got the SmackDown, the Impact watch along and bell count. And then Friday, we got the SmackDown watch along and SmackDown watch along and bell count. And then Saturday, we have a late start Crown Jewel watch along because I'm going to be in either asleep or at work while Crown Jewel airs. But disclaimer though, if anybody else in HMG does a watch along for that, we're gonna call it on the fly and do HMG After Dark that night instead. And then Sunday we got Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory, we're gonna do that night. That's gonna be fun tonight. Hope to see you there. Whoop whoop.
Sunday night is Bound for Glory?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
although, yeah, I'm gonna do everything. Yeah, but the only problem is like I get off work when it starts, so I'm gonna try to. I'm good with my manager. I can easily sweet talk her into getting off an hour early, so I can get everything ready for that, because she knows I kick ass and perform for her, so I can sweet talk my way into that. Hopefully, I can't promise anything. Shit happens. Way she goes, boys.
I don't know if it's worth it. I'll just get paid an extra hour. But anyways, with that being said, maybe and are you going to finish the Raw watch along right after this, or?
Yes, sir. As soon as the Raw watch, as soon as we go off the air here, we're going to do the finish up Raw. And I think it's going to be it for us tonight. But as always, you can catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Brandon whoop whoop.
All right. So tune in for that hot main event of Io Sky versus Kairi Sane. And as for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms. Check me out at HMG on the shows I do. Check out the friend shows that I always promote. And that should just about do it. So for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.